G'day, welcome back to the final module, you've made it, of AdWords Fundamentals, Module 10, and in this module I am going to cover 4 slightly more advanced topics. So this is going to be a slightly longer module. I'm not going to go in super detail into these, but just to introduce you to some of these more advanced topics that I think are going to be the important ones to get you from beginner to intermediate, so that you can really start to get some decent results from your AdWords accounts, to make sure you don't lose your shirt, and so you can start running AdWords accounts for clients, which I'm going to assume is one of your goals if you're going through this, or at least get your AdWords account running better for your business, if that's the reason that you're doing it. So the first one of our 4 is bidding. So this is really part of the game inside of AdWords, the fact that you can bid differently for every single keyword in your account if you want to. Again, I'm going to suggest that at the beginning, just use manual bidding. You don't need any of Google's fancy automation. Also better for you to understand how things work and to understand exactly what you can and can't do, and for you to retain control, because quite frankly, the Google machine, as I've mentioned this before, but as much as they're trying to build robots and automation and artificial intelligence to manage all of your bids for you, they're not quite there yet. Typically when we use those, results go down. So we will continue to test those, and I'll let you know when the machine is unbeatable. I reckon that'll probably happen sometime in 2018, possibly 2019, but probably sometime in 2018. It'll be virtually impossible to beat the machine. But for now, yeah, just be careful. Some of these bidding strategies that you can use, I'm going to give you 3. Just as a way to dip your toe into this world of automated bidding. And the first is enhanced CPC. You'll find this as an option. I mean, if you can't find it inside your AdWords account, just do a search for AdWords Help Enhanced CPC, and you'll find the page in the AdWords Help Center that describes how to apply this in your account. But this essentially gives Google a little bit of control. So it kind of respects all of the various settings that you have in your campaigns, and it looks at what you're prepared to bid. Let's say it's $2 a click, and then it allows a little bit of wiggle room above that and below that, and it's going to choose to change that bid based on how likely it believes that particular person viewing your ad right now, how likely they are to convert or not. Because Google knows not only how all of us are using Google AdWords, and it can see obviously inside of every single AdWords account, and it sees all of the keywords that you're bidding on, as well as all of your competitors and how you're all doing relative to one another. But it also has enormous amounts of data on the other side. It knows an awful lot about that person that is searching for your products and services right now. It knows where they are. It knows the context of that search pretty well. You know, it knows if this person is normally in South Africa or whether they're just there on holiday at the moment. It knows if they're on a mobile device or a desktop. It knows what the weather is in that location. Obviously, it knows the time of day. Google have even tested if the phase of the moon influenced how likely it was that people were going to convert. It didn't, but hey, they tested it. So you can guarantee that they've tested an awful lot of different things. In fact, Google uses in every single auction, in those milliseconds that it takes when you do a search on Google to when you see that page of results with the ads at the top, Google has considered 70 million. That's a 7 with a ton of zeros. 70 million data points in order to choose which ads it showed and who's going to spend how much. And this is where I'm talking about, potentially in the very near future not being able to beat the machine at making those kinds of decisions, because Google just doesn't give us that level of data. And so the next level up is target CPA, and that's where we start to hand the reins over to Google and say, my target is $50. See if you can get me leads for $50, please, Google. And it will then choose when to show your ad or not, and how much to bid. And a whole lot of other stuff that we don't need to worry about, where it's just going to aim to get you leads or sales at that target level that you've told it. Now, sometimes, again, this goes completely off the rails and you can set a target bid of $50 and Google comes back with $130 sales all day long. The machine is learning though, and it's learning every minute. It's getting smarter. And that's why my prediction is we will not be able to beat it by the end of 2018. We'll see if that prediction comes right or not. But once you're more familiar with Google AdWords and you've been running your own accounts manually for a little bit, once you've got a decent level of conversions, and I'm going to suggest that you don't even think about target CPA until you're getting 100 conversions a month. Once you're getting more than 100 conversions, and again, conversions for you could be a lead, it could be somebody opting in for your video, it could be somebody buying a $100 item, whatever it is for you. If you're getting more than about 100 a month, 500 a month is a wonderful place to be because the machine has more data. Then you can hand the reins over to Google and say, go on then, show me what you can do. And sometimes it will do amazing things and other times not so good. And the last one on here is target ROAS or ROAS, and that stands for return on ad spend. Now, you're probably only going to worry about this if you are a retailer, if you're an e-com store, and you're very, very concerned about your ROI. So you need to make at least, say, 4 to 1 on every dollar that you spend. So every $100 you tip into the machine, you need to get at least $400 back out in revenue. Most of our shopping clients run at around 7 or 8 to 1. It depends a little bit on the store. We've got some that are very, very profitable at 5 and others that are running at 20 to 1. It really just depends on what you're selling. But you can then have this. It's similar to the target CPA, but it's taking into account, obviously, the different revenues for the different sales. I think I used an example earlier in the course. You might have one sale that's $500 and one sale that's $50. If you're selling lots of different items, then ROAS is a better KPI, a better measure of success than just CPA, which is just, did I sell a thing? I don't really care which thing, just did I sell a thing? Return on ad spend says, yep, I sold something, and what was the revenue from that? What was my return on that? And again, just like with target CPA, you can set a target in there and say, go on then Google, I'll set my target at 7 to 1. Let's see what you can do. Get me at least $7 back for each dollar. And if you can do that, then I'll be happy to up my budgets. So they are, of all of the different automated bidding strategies inside AdWords, those are the ones that I would suggest you start with, and I would start with enhanced CPC and dip your toe in the water there. Now, I mentioned negative keywords a little bit in the earlier module on keywords. I just wanted to give a couple more examples and make sure that we've got this really squared away, because using negative keywords is one of the best and fastest ways to improve any AdWords account. And as I mentioned before, negatives stop your ads appearing for certain terms. And this was the example I used before when we were talking about TVs. You might have negs such as free or secondhand, vintage, used. I think I've used the example of parts and servicing, stuff like that. So Google, I do not want you to show my ad if the user's search query contains this particular word. And let's just look at why this is so important for a minute. Remember that when we talked a little bit about quality score in the previous module, what I didn't explain in the quality score module was that the click-through rate of your ad, which is simply just the percentage of people that click your ad. So if 20,000 people see the ad and 1,000 people click, 1,000 divided by 20,000 is 5%. That click-through rate is a very, very strong signal. Google looks at a lot of things, but that is a very strong signal that tells Google, are people finding what they were searching for? In other words, is this a good ad? If it's a good ad, then I should show it more often and I should give this advertiser mates rates, because this advertiser is good for me. It's good for Google's users. People are finding what they want. That's a good thing. Let's give them some cheaper clicks. If the click-through rate's really bad, then the opposite's going to happen. Your quality scores are going to go down, and over time, you're going to spend more and more for those clicks. Now, I can't tell you what a good or bad number is, because it doesn't really matter what the number is. What matters is what is your click-through rate compared to your competitors. And if we want to be really technical about this, it's compared to your competitors for the same keyword on the same position on the page. Because Google knows if you show an ad at the top of the page, you're going to have a much, much higher click-through rate than if your ad is down the bottom of the page. So Google's going to take that into account. But if you're showing an ad in position 2 compared to your competitor in position 2, what are your relative click-through rates for each keyword over time? Because if your click-through rates are much, much better, then that's when Google's going to reward you. It's going to give you higher quality scores, and it's going to give you cheaper clicks. And so why negs are so important is, imagine this situation where we've shown an ad 20,000 times, but actually half of those were junk search queries, were stuff that we really shouldn't be showing ads for at all. And if we can add the right negative keywords and get rid of half of these impressions, we'd be left with 10,000 impressions. Now I'm going to make the assumption here that most of those 1,000 clicks we got before, we would still get most of those. I'm going to make the assumption that 100 of those clicks were idiot clicks. People searching for stuff that we don't have, but they still clicked on our ad. I'm going to assume, therefore, that once we've got rid of all those junk search queries, we still get roughly the same number of clicks. It's gone down a little bit, but we're still getting a lot more clicks. So now 900 divided by 10,000, that gets us a click-through rate of 9%, almost double. And Google is going to like that. If your click-through rate doubles, and all we've done is just use a few good negative keywords, that sends a really strong signal to Google to say, yep, smart advertiser, charge them less. So where do you find negative keywords? As I mentioned in an earlier module, your search query report is probably the first place that you want to look. That's the main place that you're going to find them. Brainstorming, I always say when I'm teaching negative keywords, is as soon as you think of one, or as soon as you find one, then think laterally. So, for instance, let's say you're a hair loss clinic for men, and you find in your search term report hair loss for dogs. Awesome, right? We need to add dogs as a negative keyword. But please don't stop there. Think laterally and brainstorm just a little bit. Okay, if we've got dogs, let's have dog, and cats and cat, and pets and pet. And maybe you start naming all the other animals that you can think of, and rabbits and gerbils and guinea pigs and whatever, goats and whatever. But what are the main ones that are showing up in your search query report? So you don't have to add 57 new negative keywords for every one that you find in the search query report, but at least spend a couple of seconds going, okay, well, if that's there, what else is kind of similar to that? And make sure that you add singular and plurals of negative keywords too. The Google keyword tool that we talked about in the keyword module, again, full training video for that at agencysavvy.com if you want that, about a half-hour video. When you're looking through the suggestions from the keyword tool, you'll find a bunch of keywords in there that you'll probably think, oh, that actually, no, I definitely don't want to show an ad for that. So when you're doing your initial keyword research, you're probably going to find a whole bunch of potential negatives. So just make sure you jot those down somewhere and add those to your account. And then also just do a search. Jump onto Google, search for your products and services and see what other stuff pops up that you weren't expecting to see there. What sort of other similar products and services are there? Or maybe similar things with or totally different products and services with a very similar name. An example I've used in the past was a parrot car kit. So if you're selling parrots, you might want to neg out things to do with car kits and radios in cars, because apparently there's a brand of car kit called a Parrot. And if you were selling parrots, you wouldn't want to show ads for people searching for radios for their car. How you do this in your AdWords account, again, it's under the Keywords tab over on the left-hand side there. And then second one along across the top there, negative keywords. And if you want to add new negs to your campaign, then you're going to click on the big blue plus sign there, and you can add those either to the campaign or to individual ad groups. That's a little bit more advanced and beyond the scope of this course. Most of the time, you're probably going to add your negative keywords at the campaign level. And we're not talking about shopping in this course, but just because we're touching on a couple more advanced things in this last module, negative keywords are fantastic if you're doing shopping. And for your shopping campaigns, you definitely want to be thinking about negative keywords for your shopping campaigns if you're a retailer. All right, ad extensions. Ad extensions are these extra little bits of information that you get to bolt onto your ad. When we talked about ads in the first module, or the earlier module in the course, we said we've got 2 headlines, 30 characters each, an 80 character description, and then 2 paths that we can add, and they can be up to 15 characters each, and that's all we talked about. Now we're getting a bit more advanced, and you've got some ads up, and you're split testing, and you're starting to run ads. Ad extensions are wonderful for a couple of reasons. One, you get to put more context around your ad. You get to put more benefits into your ad. You get to make your ad bigger, which pushes your competitor ads further down the page. And obviously for Google's point of view, it pushes all the organic stuff, the stuff they don't make money off, pushes all those organic results further down the page. And Google want you to use extensions. In fact, they're actually part of the ad rank formula, which determines how much you will pay for each click. So it's basically Google is bribing you, in a sense, to use ad extensions. So you want to be using ad extensions. And you want to be using at least 2 different types of extension. This is where you find them inside your account. You go to the Add Extensions tab, and you'll see across the top we've got ads and then extensions. So under the extensions tab, and this is what you'll see after you've clicked the big blue plus button. You'll see this big list. Again, it may be slightly different by the time you go through this course and by the time you see this, but roughly speaking, these are the ones you're going to see. And I'm going to quickly go through some of the main ones. I would suggest you have at least 2 of the ones I'm going to go through. So site link extensions first. So you back here, click on the big blue plus and then site link extension right at the top, and then you get to write this. So you'll see here at the top, site link text. Oh, sorry, let me start right at the top here. You can choose to add these site links to the whole account or to individual campaigns, or if you really want, to individual ad groups. I would suggest you never ever do it at the ad group level unless you're getting really, really advanced with Google AdWords. It's just too hard to manage. So when you're starting out, add them at the account level, as I've shown in that top red box. So you're going to add at least 4 of these to the whole account, and then they'll get shown next to your ads in your various ad groups, in your various campaigns. Hopefully that makes sense. You have to provide site link text, which is up to 25 characters, and a final URL. And you have the option of adding these other 2 description lines in here if you want. For the first time doing this, don't worry about the descriptions, because otherwise you're just going to get overwhelmed and it's maybe too hard to think about all of these different things that I need to write. So start by just doing some basic site links, just site link text and a final URL. And you could start with something like just About Us and link to your About Us page, Contact Us and link to your Contact Us page. Maybe linking to a couple of other pages deeper into your site. The main thing you want to think about is don't be linking to the same page that you're using in your ads. So if your ads are going to your homepage, don't send your site links to your homepage. If your ads are all going to /Zebra, then send your site links elsewhere in your site and try and get at least 4 of them in there. So this is what the expanded ones look like. If you do write those extra description lines, then sometimes you'll get to see these slightly bigger site links. But the site links, I'll show you another screen in a second, but the site links are the blue links below the ad. Sometimes you'll see 2 like this, sometimes you'll see 3 or 4 in a line underneath the ad, and occasionally you'll see 4 or 6 expanded ones like this underneath the ad, but they're always underneath the ad and they're always those blue links. Callouts, call out extensions. Now I'm not going to show you how to build each of these different types of extensions. They are all almost exactly the same. Again, you go into extensions, you click on the big blue plus sign at the top, you choose the type of extension that you want. and follow the little form, fill out the little form in front of you. And with all of these, try and add, all these major ones, try and add at least 4 site links and at least 4 callouts. Callouts are the ones that you'll see with the little dot in between them here. So there's actually 4 here. 10% student discount is 1. Then there's that little dot. Super Cool Accessories is a different one. Shop by Style and Sleepwear. Again, sort of these are maybe secondary benefits, maybe some features, maybe just sort of things that you want people to know about the business, but they weren't important enough to put in the actual ad copy itself, but just additional things. So, in the ad itself here, you can see free express shipping over $50. That's a far more important message. So we put it in the ad copy. 10% student discount and Super Cool Accessories. Yeah, kind of nice for people to know, but not as important. So we put those into callouts. Now, the one that you'll see occasionally on ads, which always has, I think always a single word, maybe occasionally 2 words and then a colon, but almost always a single word and then a colon here. So types, colon, and then a whole bunch of things with commas in between. This is called a structured snippet. Almost every account that I audit does not have structured snippets. I would highly, highly recommend you add at least 1 structured snippet to your account. Again, add it in the same way, click on the big blue plus, and then if you're a bit confused about what to put in here, just find the link to the Help Center on that page. If phone calls are important to your business, then add a call extension, at least 1 call extension. And if you need to track all of those phone calls, then you can use in most countries, you can use Google's free call tracking system. And there's all sorts of third-party call tracking systems that you can use. If you're in the States, actually, they've just started in Australia and the UK as well, but CallRail, CallRail, is an excellent one, callrail.com. We highly recommend, particularly in the States. But call extensions, that's how you get a phone number in your ad. You're actually not allowed to write your phone number in the copy of the ad. And there's a couple of slight exceptions to that, but generally speaking, you're not allowed to put the phone number in the copy of the ad. You need to add a call extension if you want people to see your phone number in the ad, and then you can track those as well. Location extensions, if you have a local business, particularly if you want people to come to you, so you want to attract people in that sort of area around your location or locations, then you need to look into a location extension. And you definitely want to look into Google My Business. You need to have your Google My Business listing set up. That's a whole different kettle of fish. I've heard from my Google rep there are big changes coming to this part of Google later in 2017. So keep your eyes and ears open for more news on that. We'll certainly be blogging about that at agencysavvy.com, or come and join the Facebook group, and we'll tell you more about that when that happens. But for local businesses, location extensions might be important. And then the last one are these price extensions. So when they launched, they were only available on mobile devices. They're now on desktops and tablets as well. And this is where you can start to list some of your products and put prices next to them. So no images on this. The little ads you've seen with prices and a little square image, they're shopping ads or product listing ads. That's different from these. These are just another extension underneath your ad. If it makes sense for your business, then definitely add these and try and add, again, at least 3 or 4 of these. These can work really, really well for a number of businesses. And then the last little bit that we're going to cover here is just a very, very, very brief introduction to remarketing. Remarketing or retargeting, I'm going to assume if you're watching this that you're probably familiar with the term, and maybe you're already doing this with your Facebook ads. But from a Google point of view, you are essentially tagging people that come to your website, and then you're following them around the web and showing them ads while they travel around the rest of the web. So obviously this works a little bit differently inside of Facebook, because Facebook are only showing ads, or predominantly showing ads, inside of Facebook. With Google's system, where you're seeing these ads are across Google's display network, those 2 million plus websites that we talked about before, or even inside of YouTube or inside of apps. But basically speaking, somebody comes to your website, you tag them, and then you tell Google, hey, follow that person around, and when they're on one of your special sites, put this ad in front of them, please. Now, you won't get loads of clicks from those, as with most banner ads. 1 in 500, every 500 impressions get 1 click. That's sort of about the norm. But this is a wonderful way for you to look bigger than you are. If you've ever had this experience of going to a website and then for the next few days or weeks, seeing those ads everywhere you go, as long as you don't cross the line, as long as this doesn't get creepy or annoying, and that's just down to how you do it, and this can be one of the most profitable campaigns that you can run. There's a couple of steps to it. You need to create what is called a tag, a remarketing tag or a snippet of code. You do that by going into the audience lists section of your AdWords account, clicking on the big blue button, and then choosing website visitors, and follow the prompts, and it will give you a piece of code. And again, use something like Google Tag Manager to put that code onto your website. Now you need to build at least one audience. So a remarketing list or a remarketing audience, it's the same thing. I'll use those terms interchangeably. And you can see here, give it a name, and then you say people that go to this particular page. So people that go to my Windows section of my site, I'm going to build an audience of people that visited, you see here, URL contains, people that visited all of the pages that contain the word Windows. Or if I wanted to build a remarketing list of people that bought from me, URL contains success or congratulations or receipt page or whatever it is, the URL of your receipt page if you're an e-com site, or your thank you page if you're a lead gen site. URL contains example.com. Anybody that's come to any page on my website, put your domain name in there and build one big list of everybody that's come to your website. And I would suggest that you start there. So URL contains domainname.com. Audience name for that would be all visitors. And I typically like to put this membership duration you see down the bottom. I like to put that in the audience name. So audience name, all visitors -30 days. URL contains mydomainname.com, and then membership duration stays the same on 30 days. If that's all you did and you just built one audience, fantastic. If you want to go into more detail about this, then do a search for Mike Rhodes Remarketing Grid, and you'll find a pretty long series of blog posts that I wrote for digitalmarketer.com, and it'll go into a lot more detail about remarketing and how you set this up in both AdWords and in Facebook, and how you can put together a really smart remarketing strategy nice and easily. And then once you've built your audience, you then have to go and build a campaign, a nice simple campaign, which is a Google Display Network campaign, because that's where your ads are going to show. They're going to show on the display network. Have to build at least one ad group, and then you apply your audience to that ad group. Now, I'm not going into any more detail than that in this course, because this is the fundamentals course. Again, if you want more detail about that, there's tons and tons of stuff from beginner all the way through to super advanced remarketing, and using tools like Google Analytics to build much more powerful remarketing strategies, all over at agencysavvy.com. So thank you for being part of this course. Thank you for making it to the end of 10 whole modules. Absolutely fantastic that you've made it this far. Thank you for being a wonderful student. My only wish is that you now go implement, and that you use all of this and you go run some excellent AdWords campaigns, whether it's for your own business or for other people's businesses. Go make somebody some money and learn while you're doing this. If you want more training like this, if you would like more sort of intermediate and expert level training, then come and join us at agencysavvy.com. we've got courses, on everything, basically. My AdWords Mastery course is over 10 hours of content that goes into a lot more detail than we've gone over in these modules, really digging into some of these things around negative keywords, quality scores, conversion tracking in a lot more detail, and really stepping through it, and remarketing definitely in a lot more detail. My Google Display Network course is another 10-hour plus course where we really dig into all of the different ways that you can target display ads, Gmail, YouTube, responsive ads, image ads, text ads across Google's display, and using my tool, thedisplaygrid.com. And again, if you search for Display Grid microdes, you'll find a whole article or a couple of articles on Digital Marketer where I go into more details about that. And we've got courses on improving your website, courses on Facebook, courses on Google Data Studio, which is a wonderful tool, way beyond the scope of this little course. But I really would love to have you come and join us, even if you just come in for a month or two, download all my courses and run away. If that's how you prefer to learn, great. But we also have a wonderful forum with a few hundred very smart marketers offering their advice and help. So if you ever get stuck, you ever have a question, there's somebody to ask, how on earth do I do this? A very active Facebook group. We have 3 Q&A sessions every month, from anything from Google AdWords to Google Shopping to Facebook. They're the main 3 topics, but we also talk about stuff like Google Analytics, Tag Manager, remarketing, and all of the cool new stuff that Google brings out. Stuff currently, things like data-driven attribution is a big topic. Custom in-market stuff for Google Display, all sorts of fun stuff. But my aim with AgencySavvy.com is to keep you on the cutting edge of all of this stuff. I want it to be the most, and I believe it is, the most cutting edge, up-to-date training on the planet, particularly around Google AdWords. That's my first love, but the rest of the team here is creating content around Facebook and Google Shopping and all sorts of other stuff, and a whole bunch of content to help you grow your agency, whether you're already running an agency of 10 people or whether it's just you right now and you're doing freelance consulting, but you're thinking that maybe you need a bit of help or you need to start to grow, then I would love to help you with that. Everything from your mindset as an agency owner to creating and documenting systems to building your team. Who do you need to hire next? How do you hire people? What do you talk about in the interview? How do you do that? How do you get clients? That's a big part of the Agency Savvy course. So we have a whole nother big course in there called the Agency Owner's Blueprint. Again, another 10 plus hours of content there. And you get all of these courses. Everything is included in the 1 monthly membership. So would love to see you there. If you want to grow your agency, you want to learn more about Google AdWords in particular, but also things like display, shopping, Facebook, would absolutely love to see you. Thank you for allowing me a couple of minutes to bang on about that. I'm just super passionate, as you can probably tell, about helping people win, about helping people grow faster than they could grow by themselves. That's all I want to do, is help particularly agencies just thrive and win. And how do you deal with all the AI stuff that's coming and the preponderance of all the robots and all of that stuff? We talk about all of that inside Agency Savvy. I would love to see you there. If this is if not what you need, then that's absolutely wonderful too. And I will see you somewhere online. Thank you very much. My name's Mike Rhodes. It's been an absolute pleasure being with you for these 10 modules. All the best. Cheers. Bye-bye.